Good morning, Agents of Nothing, and welcome to our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. We are your commanding officers. I'm Mariah.
And I'm Caroline.
And today we're going to be talking about Season 4, Episode 14, The Man Behind the Shield.
Woo! So, Mariah, how was your week?
It's been really good for the most part, but last night something happened that ruined my day, week, year. I'm dog sitting for my sister, and her dog peed in my bed.
Oh no, that's the worst.
And I discovered it after I had already laid down to sleep.
Yep.
I was like, why is it wet?
That's when they want to do it. I don't understand. If they're gonna pee in your bed, it's gonna be right when you're about to fall asleep.
Oh my god.
Incredible.
I need a cat. I need a cat in my life.
Listen, the cats will do it to you too. If they just miss you too much, they start peeing on your bed. Anyway.
That sounds like personal experience.
Yes.
So how was your week?
Well, speaking of pets, my pup Penny, I think I mentioned she had some like weird stuff going on with her blood work a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well, so they couldn't figure out what was wrong, so we kept having to do like test after test after test. I had to bring her in multiple times, and we finally redid like the first test, but like slightly different. And turns out she has heartworms.
Oh.
So basically what happened was the first heartworm test that we did came back like borderline, and so then we did like a microfilaria test, which is like baby heartworms, and that one came back negative. And then we did another heartworm test, but this one is like, it's like heated or something, and then that one came back positive. So she's getting spayed this week. As soon as she recovers from that surgery, so like 2 weeks, then we have to start heartworm treatment, which is like at least 2 months of antibiotics and multiple injections to like get rid of all the heartworms, and trying to keep her calm over 2 months or more. And it's like an expensive treatment, so love that.
Wow. I'm so sorry, dude.
Luckily, it doesn't seem to be a very, like, it seems to be a pretty mild case. And this is, like, literally the soonest that we could have caught it, because you can only test positive, like, 6 months after infection or something like that. So, like, this is the soonest we could have caught it. So, at least it's not, like, really bad. Hopefully we caught it before she can have any kind of like lasting damage to her heart and lungs and stuff. But
yeah,
man, this summer has just been hit after hit.
Damn.
But we're all good. Everything's good. Everybody's gonna be okay. We're gonna get it all taken care of.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. So,
right.
Shall we get started?
We shall. So, this episode was written by Matt Owens and directed by Wendy Stansler.
All right. Those are some new names. I don't recognize those.
I think Wendy we've heard from before. Okay. I don't know about Matt.
Interesting.
But Matt Owens is a very, like, generic name, so I could have heard it before, and we just totally forgot.
It just went erased from our brains. But that is interesting, though, because I did feel like this episode had a different feeling than most of the ones that we've seen lately.
Yeah, a little bit. There were literally only 2 fun facts for this one, so this one's going to be mostly Caroline talking.
Hooray!
I apologize.
I got lots of water.
I will try to interject when I come up with something clever.
Which is always. You're so clever.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we don't meet any new characters, which is great. They were like, we got enough. So, we start off with some typical dad-daughter bonding, obviously. Coulson and Daisy are sparring, and Daisy is kicking his ass, as per usual. Coulson is shocked that he can feel things, and I was thinking, like, did he get a new prosthetic hand? Because they're showing his arm, and there's not, like, the line there. I don't know what's happening. But then Daisy kicks him, and he starts to go flying, but stops midair. And it turns out they were testing Fitz's framework prototype. They're starting to understand how Radcliffe is keeping May contained, but they still don't understand why he's doing it. Fitz says that he can potentially track the computer code for the framework that Ada is using in order to find May. I don't know how that works. That doesn't sound like something that can happen, but sure. But just then, news comes that Jeff's GPS tracker from his suit has located him in Alaska. And so this seems like a safer bet to find them both. Or maybe they just left his suit behind. And I don't really understand why they only just now found his suit, because it has a GPS tracker on it. Shouldn't they have been able to track it in real time?
Yeah.
That was weird. But okay.
Plot.
So anyway, the suit was just haphazardly left behind on the floor of some warehouse right next to an insane Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny style collection of pictures and articles and red string on the wall, making it clear that Coulson is their true target.
I love that that's like the modern day reference.
That's exactly what it is.
It puts a picture in your mind. You know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So Ivanov and his cronies seem to be impatiently waiting on something. They find Radcliffe unconscious with his headphones on, and they make to take the headphones off to talk to him, but Ada stops them, saying that forcefully removing him from the framework will shred his brain. Wow.
Intense.
Ivanov insists on talking to Radcliffe, so Ada reluctantly wakes him up. Radcliffe is upset because he says he's already set up everything that the Russians need for their plan, and they can talk to Ada if they have questions. And all Radcliffe wants to do is spend time in his simulation world. But Ivanov refuses to speak to Ada. He says that she is filth, and he doesn't micromanage, he perfects. And he wants everything to run smoothly, and he needs everyone to be in the real world to do their part perfectly. Radcliffe says he has already done everything that he needs to do. He's already done his part to give Ivanov what he wants. So now Ivanov should let Radcliffe continue to be where he wants to be.
He just wants to be in his little game, bro.
Yeah. And he says that he would... I forgot what he said he was doing, but I was like, I feel like he's probably just with his girlfriend.
Yeah. I was gonna make a joke about that, like, yeah, like, when you first start dating someone, or when you, in this case, I guess, get back together with someone in your own little virtual world, you only ever want to be with, that's all you want to do.
Yeah. And also, I kind of feel that about, like, I already did all the things that I needed to do. Why do I have to? Why do I still have to be here? So, back to S.H.I.E.L.D. Looking at the pictures on the wall, Coulson says, "This is why I don't have Facebook." Daisy finds the only picture on the wall that ties to Ivanov, which is like an old barn or something. It was not a barn. I don't know what I was thinking. Or something, I guess. Coulson reluctantly says that he has some history there too. And then our timestamp says some time ago, because no one is allowed to know Coulson's true age. Baby Coulson arrives at this Russian base and tries to sweet talk his way in.
It is for the protection of all your cats.
Which, you know, that's very comforting, actually.
Yeah. Oh my God, remember that point in time when I think we were both living in Baton Rouge and there was someone, like, some serial cat killer was, like, out killing cats and, like, stringing them up in people's front yards. It was weird.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Fucking crazy.
Did they ever find who did it? They never follow up on stories like that.
I know. I don't remember. But I know I was like, I am so glad that my cats are only indoors. Yet another reason to keep your cats indoors.
Truly. People are weird.
Yeah. Anyway. So, while Coulson is telling this man about their cats, Baby May arrives and saves his ass because the soldier was not believing him. Coulson is very mad because he did not request a specialist. But he begrudgingly allows her to get back in the car with him as they continue the mission. Coulson comes back to present day and tells Daisy that they are heading to Russia. Where in Russia? We don't know. But Russia.
Russia.
Jeff is in some dark, cold cell, and he pretends to be out cold while a guard checks on him through the bars in his cell door. As soon as the guard walks away, though, Jeff starts testing his chains, and he quickly breaks free. Which is... He did not still have super strength. So...
I think maybe he might have still. Like,
maybe he used the last of
it might have been the
free.
very last of it.
Yeah. Anyway. And then he goes and tries the door, and it's not even latched. So, you know what? Maybe they just made it really easy for him to escape. I don't know.
Maybe so.
Or they had a lot of faith in those chains. I don't know what happened. But so he pads down the hallway, barefoot and shirtless. Interesting that they let him keep his pants, but they took away everything else. But he surprises one guard at the end of the hall and manages to quietly suffocate him. But the next guard is armed and ready. And Ivanov appears at the other end of the hall, so he's kind of stuck. Ivanov taunts him, asking if he has any strength left, and Jeff says, "Do you really want to find out?" And Ivanov says, "Duh, actually." And for a brief moment, Jeff looked so hot. He was all dirty and bloody. So good. But then he loses the fight so fast. Like, pathetically fast. Like, did the spies teach him nothing at all? Not even technique or anything, or like how to aim a punch? He doesn't get a single one in. This is so sad.
Oh, poor Jeff.
They made him rely so much on that super strength and then didn't give him, like, even an inkling of how to fight without it. Which is crazy. He's such a, like, muscular man. He can't use them at all. Back at S.H.I.E.L.D., Mac, speaking of muscular men, Mac is finishing up his training with the framework, and he does not like it at all. Fitz insists that it's a training tool, and Mac says, well, it's not helping May run a marathon, as though physical is the only kind of training. But, okay.
Also, like, you don't know that.
Yeah, what if it is? And also, like, Coulson and Daisy noticed earlier in regards to, like, being able to feel sensations while inside of it, it obviously would be incredibly helpful for, like, sparring and fight training, because instead of actually hurting anyone in real life, you're just creating muscle memory for yourself.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the season, because they've, like, very briefly mentioned it at the beginning of the season, like, that's what it was developed for in the first place, because May kept, like, breaking people's noses or some shit.
But Mac, of course, starts going in on Fitz, implying that the whole last year is kind of Fitz's fault for making the things that Radcliffe then stole and elaborated on to use them for evil. Fitz defends himself by saying that he was just building tools, and there's nothing wrong with the tool itself, just because somebody starts using it for an unintended purpose. Fitz says that electricity is used to kill people. Should it not also be used to power hospitals? Max says that's obviously not the same thing, and that Fitz is starting to blur the thin line between scientist and mad scientists. And he almost says that Fitz is sounding like Radcliffe, but Fitz cuts him off before he can say it. And while Mac may have a point, like, Fitz should think about potential consequences of these, like, innovative things that he creates, rather than just creating for creativity's sake. But also, Mac needs to read the room. Like, the whole, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it necessary? Is it kind? There's definitely a better way to bring this up. And
yeah, it was really tense. It was hard to watch, and it was frankly, like, kind of sad to see them argue like that. Mm-hmm. I think regardless of if Mac was, like, factually correct, he was in the wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like, what does that do besides make him feel bad about himself? He can't change it.
Yeah.
And like, they all know that he had the best of intentions, and that somebody else stole his ideas and then used them for something else. That doesn't mean that it's his fault. Anyway, I'm sure they'll make up soon. So, as present-day S.H.I.E.L.D. is making their way through the Russian base, Coulson's memory takes back over. He and May are bickering over how she would have handled the mission differently, and May brings up the time that they were working together undercover as a married couple, and Coulson was apparently terrible at pretend sex. He says, "I was being a gentleman." But before Coulson can break into the safe that they're supposed to get into, more Russians arrive outside. And then back to present day, they see not only the beginning of Coulson's laser mark on the door, but the larger cut that actually opened the safe door, which Coulson says May made. They prepare themselves for whatever might be on the other side of this door.
The other side of the door, we can face any beautiful eyes.
It might be a bridge.
Yeah.
So Jeff wakes back up in his cell, and Ivanov was waiting for him so he could continue taunting him. That trope of, like, waking up to the villain next to you there's always something that is funny to me about, like, picturing them just sitting there waiting waiting for him to wake up,
just watching you sleep.
He's like, "Would you wake up already? Can you?" You're like snoring.
I was thinking more Edward Cullen style.
Anyway, so Ivanov says that Jeff is worse than scum, aka the Inhumans, because he strives to be scum. He allows S.H.I.E.L.D. to put poison into his body so that he can pretend to be inhuman. Ivanov says that S.H.I.E.L.D. calls itself a beacon for humanity, but it has become a haven for inhumanity. And then he stabs Jeff in the chest. Like, lightly, but still a stab.
The note that I wrote down here was, I hate blood.
Oh, yeah, it was not great.
No, not fun to watch. Not fun to watch.
And then Ivanov starts to walk away, and Ada follows, and there's a tense conversation outside of his cell about if Ada doesn't approve of Ivanov's methods, if she has an opinion on it. Ada says that she's only programmed to observe human behavior, and Ivanov is certainly different than any other humans that she has observed. Which, yeah. Ivanov seems like marginally pleased by this answer, and so he leaves. But Ada looks pretty unsettled. I'm thinking maybe she does have an opinion. So Coulson, Daisy, and Mac make it into the vault, and they find multiple skeletons on the ground, dressed as Russian soldiers. And then a cell phone starts ringing inside one of the skulls.
Ew.
Fucking ew. And so Coulson picks it up and answers it. More ew. What the fuck? That's disgusting. And it's Ivanov, obviously. And again, I'm sure he was, like, alerted when they arrived to the room or whatever, but it's just so funny to picture him, like, calling every 5 minutes and, like, getting sent to his own voicemail because they're not there yet. He spends a lot of time just waiting.
Yeah. I guess that's what they don't tell you about being a villain. It's a lot of hurry up and wait.
Patience. Yeah. No wonder he's so impatient all the time. So Ivanov asks if Coulson remembers killing these men. And the flashback starts again. And Coulson has May continue breaking into the vault while he goes to sweet talk to the 4 Russian soldiers that have just arrived outside. Ivanov says over the phone, back to present day, that those soldiers were his unit. And Coulson says that he didn't kill them, but Ivanov says that he had to dig their bodies out of the ground to pay his respects. And he obviously didn't respect them that much in their death, because then he just, like, left them all dressed up in an abandoned building.
That's almost exactly what I wrote down as well. I was like, oh, I had to dig them up just to pay my respects. I was like, that's not how that works.
No. What?
You're just disturbing the dead. That's like the opposite of how that works.
Literally. That's
unless I'm willing to. I'm open to the idea that maybe they were like dumped in a mass grave because they were like murdered.
Yeah.
But still.
Then you I understand digging them up then. But then you, like, rebury them or you cremate them or something.
Yeah, you don't just leave them in a fucking safe. To make a point.
God. I wonder how long he left them there. You know? Have they been there the whole time? That's disgusting. Anyway. So he tells Coulson that Coulson's people will meet the same fate as Ivanov's unit. Then he hangs up the phone and tells Jeff, because he was standing right next to Jeff this whole time, that Coulson is the one using other people as his shield. Somehow, Coulson is the one in the wrong here. Even though he didn't kill them, and Ivanov's the one who, like, disturbed their rest. So, whatever. Fitz finally finds the source of the framework's code. It's in China. But then, it's everywhere! Coulson and Daisy arrive back at the plane at that moment, and Fitz explains that this is only possible because they have the Darkhold, and not at all because they have a VPN. ExpressVPN, I would have made a joke for you there if you've sponsored us.
Yeah. Come on, sponsor us!
Flashback Coulson is still talking to the soldiers, trying to convince them that he is with the UN and that they need to leave. They tell him that they were sent to retrieve an object at all costs. But before Coulson can respond, there's a loud boom. So they all run inside, and May is nowhere to be found, so they run back outside and see Coulson's van speeding away. The Russian soldier says, "It looks like your partner was to retrieve the object at all costs too, and you are the cost." Aww. And Coulson was just saying he might make a move on May. Damn.
No. That is, okay. The storyline that is presented between Coulson and May in this episode is so interesting to me. And we'll get to it. And I'll say more.
Okay. It was definitely interesting. So Daisy and Coulson, back in present day, inform the rest of the team that they have found where they think Ivanov is working from and that they are already en route. Coulson tells everyone to basically expect the unexpected and to stop at nothing to get their people back alive.
I think it was this part where Coulson made some sort of comment about sharks with lasers. Yeah. And I wrote down, sharks with lasers? Is that a reference to something? Oh, I looked it up. Austin Powers.
He would. Simmons finds Fitz spiraling over the same things that Max said to him earlier. He clearly has already, been feeling this way, like it was his fault. And then Max saying it just solidified it.
Yeah.
Simmons tells him that while he does need to consider consequences more often, Fitz is good, and all he wants to do is help people, and if twisted people like Radcliffe want to use his genius ideas for evil, that's not Fitz's fault. And this scene just killed me. Ian's face caused me so much pain. You can literally watch his eyes turning red from tears. My heart broke.
Ian and Elizabeth are two of the best actors I've ever seen in any TV show or movie.
Truly.
And the fact that they're paired up together in this, I never stood a chance, you know? I was always going to stand.
It was always going to be this way. Simmons gets through to him, though, and so he gets to work on breaking into the framework at the confirmed location, or whatever. Ivanov is still trying to poison Jeff against Coulson to get him to denounce S.H.I.E.L.D. like it's a religion. But Jeff says he believes in Coulson and S.H.I.E.L.D. and that for all its flaws, they are always trying to protect people, unlike Ivanov. Ivanov says that he can respect this, but his comrades cannot. So he slowly starts cutting off Jeff's bonds, and then the door opens, and 4 giant men enter and start beating the shit out of poor Jeff.
And Ada just, watches through the bars.
Literally, what the fuck?
Oh my god. She's really observing this human behavior.
She is really observing. So S.H.I.E.L.D. arrives to the Russian compound, and they split up. Coulson finds Ivanov almost immediately, and Ivanov gives him this whole sob story about how his unit got murdered by their own superiors for losing the object that Coulson and May were sent to retrieve that day, and so Ivanov has been looking for S.H.I.E.L.D., and specifically Coulson, ever since. So what you're saying is, Coulson did not kill them! Anyway, so Coulson says, "Cool origin story, bro, but I don't even know who you are." I don't even remember which object I was sent to retrieve on this mission. And honestly, I just got, transported back to the fucking cool story, bro meme.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't.
So Coulson's brush off of Ivanov's origin story and not remembering the object is reminiscent of Street Fighter 1994, when Raul Julia as Bison is talking to Ming-Na Wen as Chun-Li and says, "I'm sorry, my dear, I don't remember any of it. The day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life, but for me it was Tuesday."
Wow. I should really watch more of Ming-Na Wen's stuff. Anyway, so then But wait, there's more. Once Ivanov confirmed that at least Director Mace is on the compound property, the door blows open and Daisy walks through, ready to go head-to-head with the head watchdog himself. And she is so excited to do this. And you know what? I feel like Ivanov is a little excited too, because at least one of them knows who he is.
Yeah.
So, you know, they have to do their banter back and forth first. Daisy says, this isn't about admiration or forgiveness. And Ivanov says, does the butcher ask forgiveness from the animals he slaughters? And Daisy says, have you ever read Animal Farm? I love her so much. And then the fight ensues, obviously. And honestly, like, if you watch this again, just picture the opening of the Eras Tour playing in the background of the scene. It's been a long time coming. And then, like, it's been a long time coming, but... And then she blows him back into the pillar. Fucking so sick.
Hell yeah. Someone edit that. Make an edit.
Someone who is not me. Because I won't. You know what? It probably exists. Maybe. So then Fitzsimmons and Davis, who... Just kidding. I remember.
That's gonna be your inside joke from now on.
Yeah, my inside joke with myself. They make it to the comms room at the lowest level of the base. Fitz is doubtful that they're running the framework from here because it's so low tech, but he says he'll look through the system to see what he can find anyway. They hear over the comms that Ada is here on the lower levels. Uh-oh. So Simmons says that she'll go find her. Fitz is very worried. Simmons says that she'll take Davis, and Fitz says, only slightly less worried. And then Davis goes, thanks. But they do what they gotta do, anyway. And it turns out I love Davis.
He is great. He's a really good character.
So, Mac finds Jeff while he's still getting the shit beat out of him. So he breaks in and knocks out all 4 of the Russians in seconds. Again, why the fuck did Mac not... Oh my god, what am I saying? Why the fuck did Mac not train Jeff? Because they're like the same size, and Jeff is helpless, and Mac just knocked out all 4 of them by himself. Crazy. They try to ask Jeff where May is, but he's barely conscious. Obviously.
Coulson really has a one-track mind when it comes to finding May. I thought it was so funny. Like, this... He is bloodied up. He is, like, mumbling to himself. And Coulson's like, where's May? Where is May?
I know. That was crazy. I noticed when they picked him up off the floor, his face literally, like, dragged through the blood. It was so disgusting. But he was, like, obviously not conscious. Where is she? Anyway, so Daisy takes way too long to take out Ivanov. They always let the villain talk too much. But she finally, like, quakes the ceiling down on him, then immediately leaves to go check on everyone else. They did not show his dead body. He is obviously going to come back at the worst possible time. So Simmons meets back up with Davis underground, and they both say that they haven't found Ada. And then an alarm goes off, and they run to the dock to see the submarine leaving. Fitz finds them right then, with all the pieces of equipment that he wanted to examine, and then Coulson and Mac arrive carrying Jeff, and then Daisy right after. Coulson tells them that May is not on the base. Simmons says she thinks that they have May on the submarine, and so Daisy starts to say that they can keep looking, but Coulson surprisingly says that they should call it a day. They should tend to their wounded and live to fight another day. Something is off here. I don't like it. They were all alone at some point, and then they all said that their comms went in and out. This is fishy. I don't like it.
You see what I mean about you, like, catching on to the plot lines? Look at you. Look at you.
Look at me. It was very suspicious. So then, back at the SHIELD base, while Fitz is examining the old tech, Simmons seems troubled. She finally speaks up and says that there seems to be a missing chunk of time while they were at the compound. Everybody said that they went straight to the dock after whatever they were doing, but there was so much time in between when they split up and when they came back together. And then Simmons notices that there is an error on their LMD detector at the base. It detected someone, and the report was deleted. But luckily, with Simmons' high clearance level, she gets all those reports sent straight to her inbox. Which, Coulson didn't think of this.
I guess not LMD, Coulson.
I guess not. But luckily with Simmons... Oh, wait. I already said that. It turns out Coulson himself deleted the report. And it showed 4 LMDs when Coulson, Mac, Mace, and Daisy all walked through the door. The poor Mace LMD. He didn't even do anything. Fitzsimmons starts to speculate when they could have been switched. And then I was like, what if this is a simulation in itself, and then either Fitz or Simmons is the one that got switched, and now they have to figure it out, and that is their simulation, just like what they were doing to May before. So I was guessing Simmons. But obviously I was wrong. That's how I do it. I'm just suspicious all the time. Sometimes I'm right.
I love that.
So then Ada is with Ivanov, who is all bloody under the rubble, and she says that he's still barely alive and that everything has gone to plan. The top operatives at S.H.I.E.L.D. have been replaced. She then leans down to his ear and says that Ivanov has not yet fulfilled his purpose, and that even filth has a purpose. Chills. Oh my god. She's so terrifying.
Oh. Mallory Jansen, the woman you are.
Okay. So now it's time for the post-content content. Oops. I just scared the crap out of Juliet.
Aww.
I'm sorry. So this is fun. Flashback Coulson and May are driving back after their mission, and they're flirting, like, hardcore. May lets it slip that she asked for this mission to avoid going on another date. She said she's getting tired of dating civilians. Coulson says maybe if this one doesn't work out, they should talk about it over a drink.
Ooh.
They've been saying they should have a drink for this long.
For so long.
So long. May says that this one is really not her type. He asks too many questions, and he's a shrink. It's Andrew.
Aww.
Coulson.
When Agent May of the past is talking about the man she's been going on dates with, she mentions he's a shrink. This can be inferred that she was courting her future ex-husband, Andrew, who is a therapist.
Her future ex-husband.
I know. I saw that wording too, and I wanted to change it, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna leave it.
That's so funny. Oh my god. If Coulson had just asked her out sooner.
I know. Like, that's what I was... Okay, so the timeline. Coulson is talking about how he's been friends with this woman for a while, and he's been thinking about making a move, and, you know, he doesn't know if he should. And then he does make a move, sort of. And she is dating the man she's going to marry. Currently.
I know it. I know it. Honestly, though, I do feel like they probably wouldn't have worked out long term at that point.
Yeah.
Because they were both too young and clearly, like, they weren't ready for each other yet, you know?
Yeah.
Not the, like, everything happens for a reason thing, but I don't think it would have lasted.
Yeah.
And they needed
makes
each other.
sense.
They needed each other's friendship more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway. So, back to present day. Allegedly, LMD Coulson reboots LMD May, and then they start flirting, and this is too much ick. I genuinely cannot handle the ickiness of the situation. It ended, and I was just like, I couldn't move. It was so bad. I hate it so much. Ugh.
My goodness. Overall thoughts?
This was not my favorite episode. I felt like the pacing was a little bit off, but then maybe that was on purpose, you know, because it was supposed to feel suspicious, you know?
Yeah. It definitely ended on, like, a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And I knew that would drive you crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what about you?
That was my overall thought, was that, God, this is such a cliffhanger and it's going to drive Caroline crazy.
Yeah. It just the robots pretending to be humans and then flirting with each other. I hate it too much. The cliffhanger is fine. Honestly. Ugh.
Oh. Well, that concludes our episode on Season 4, Episode 14, The Man Behind the Shield.
All right.
Next time, we'll be covering Season 4, Episode 15, Self-Control, so stay tuned for that.
Okay, bye.
Bye, love you.